Education in India, Problems and Their Solutions. Here is an essay which attempts to give a broad points, rather bullet points for discussion, and also a base material for developing the same into a comprehensive essay, and it is surely a good material for interview discussion as well. This topic throws some light on the problems faced by the education system in India and what are our possible suggestions to solve these problems. Now, it is up to you to further develop it into a comprehensive and mature article. Now, let us see the broad issues in the education system in India. First thing that would come to our mind is the lack of infrastructure. Approximately 95% of the schools in India are not yet compliant with the complete set of right to education infrastructure indicators, that is according to the survey conducted in 2010. They lack drinking water facilities, functional common toilet, and do not have separate toilets for the girls, which is a very big handicap in terms of the infrastructure. Now, there are a number of education boards which cause non-uniformity of curriculum throughout India, so maintenance of quality of education standard is also lacking, and it is quite a difficult issue. Now, one of the most important aspect is how our education institutes, not only at the national level but at the global level, how they are ranking. That is, we are talking now in terms of the higher education. For example, in India, only 4 universities are featured in first 400 in a global ranking. This is largely because of high faculty student ratio and lack of research capacity. Now, third, overall, the system of education in India appears to be totally information-based rather than knowledge-based. It is not analytical, and the whole focus is on cramming information rather than understanding it and analyzing it. Fourth issue that comes to our mind is the gap between education that is provided and the industry requirement that is required for employing the students. Now, the industry faces a problem to find suitable employees as the education provided is not suitable at all for directly working in the industry, and for that the company is required to spend a very large amount in providing a training for employee before they can really get the employee to do the required work. Now, one of the most important issue in school education or total education system in India is the gender issue. The traditional Indian society of ours suffers from many kind of discrimination, so there are many hurdles in education and unprivileged sections of the society, and it includes women and also scheduled castes, scheduled tribes and minority groups. In the higher education system, one of the most important aspects has been the cost of higher education. Very minimal amount of subsidy is available and it is provided by the government for higher education. So, if a student is seeking to get a chances of higher education, still he misses out because of lack of economical resources. For all this cause, of course, is the inadequate government funding, and the demand for financial resources far exceeds the supply, obviously, and a very small amount is available for innovative programs and ideas in the college or higher education system. Now let us think in terms of how to solve these problems. One of the most important and fundamental aspects in this modern world is to adopt technology. Effective use of technological tools and teaching has many benefits, and it will solve many problems of infrastructure and quality. The second aspect is the teacher training aspect. The teachers' training remains one of the most chaotic, neglected and deficient sectors of India's vast education system. This needs to be changed because they virtually hold the destiny of the future generations in their hands. That is, we are talking about teachers. third aspect is of course, the financial aspect, where more government spending is required. India is targeted towards devoting 6% share of the GDP towards the educational sector. But this performance has definitely fallen short of expectations. It is because the funding is needed to spend on building infrastructure and very badly. Fourth aspect that we should be discussing is the inclusive education system. Now, the growth in education sector will have to incorporate all sections of society like rural, urban, poor, women and backward classes, etc. This point needs to be emphasized again and again, and especially the women education will have to top the priority of the government and the overall total education system. Now, there is a quality education. The emphasis will have to be placed on a quality education so that India can come up to a global standard, and the education provided that is presently will have to meet the needs of the students, and it should also include education that is provided to hearing impaired or the slow learners, and it should also allow them to enhance their skills and get a better employment options. All this improvement in education system can happen by adopting certain development models, that is PPP models, that is public-private participation model. Now, public-private sources and to encourage the active participation of the private sector in the national development is very important. It is more forcefully advocated, especially when the public resources are projected to be very inadequate to meet the current demands. Now, the next aspect is the All India Education Service. Like many other administrative service, India should have an All India Education Service because it will decide the policies of the education in consultation with the educationists, and it will establish a certain path and certain code of conduct and also service rules for all the educationists or all the people involved in imparting education in India. Now, overall education policy therefore will have to be formulated after involving all the players in the present education system. Now, the modern education policy therefore will need a frequent update, and it will have to cover personality development aspect of the student also. It should also imbibe values of culture and social services. While discussing the education system, one of the basic question that needs to be answered are what are the problems faced by our first generation school goers. In this, the family background and support is an important factor because family background is quite different for many children, and therefore they might not get same support as other students having a different social and economic status, and they will have a huge psychological impact in receiving the education. Sometimes their family also cannot fulfill their resource need. One of the biggest problem presently that is faced by the children as well as by the parents is there is lots of pressure on the school-going children. The first generation schoolgoers therefore undergo a lot of pressure because their family has a lot of expectation that is placed on them. It is because the family thinks of their future and their security in a little beyond proportionate level. In this context, it has to be mentioned that there is a lack of guidance at home, that nobody at home is able to solve the problems in their studies at home because the other members of family are either illiterate or they don't have a time or they don't have resources, and in that case the students have to largely rely on the guidance that is available at the poorly equipped schools. Feeling of insecurity is one aspect that has got to do with the proper well-being and proper education for the first-time schoolgoers. Now, approach towards them therefore will have to be different because they suffer from an insecure feeling among themselves. Therefore, to think in terms of what help and what is needed to help the children is the change in approach, the removing psychological bias towards them, the adopting inclusive policy, the inclusive attitude of the parents as well as the teachers, and encouragement of finances to the students through scholarships in all levels of education. These are the points that are probably covered in a random manner. Therefore, one has to incorporate these points in a little more sequential manner and make an attempt in writing a fairly synchronized article.